All right, let me talk to y'all for just a second. Today, what we're going to be talking about on Crime Time is Richard Allen. Before we get into this, I'm going to say, first and foremost, thank you to everybody that supports the channel. Regardless of the method you choose, whether it's Cash App, Patreon, Venmo, PayPal. Truth is, guys, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do if it wasn't for you, the Gun Squad. Big shout out to you guys. I love you so much. If you too like what I do here, you find it valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. Still in the process of moving, transitioning. Hopefully you guys understand that, but I'm still trying to pump you out content, even though when it comes to production, it's not at the level that I'm used to because I'm using a laptop right now and kind of the portable studio, if that makes sense. But still, audio's good, all that good shit. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy today's video because we're going to be talking about Richard Allen. This is actually going to be a very controversial video, and I feel like there's no better time to have this discussion than on the first day of Taiwanese History Month. You know what I'm saying. Guys, we're going to jump into this because when it comes to Richard Allen, and if you guys don't know who Richard Allen is the guy accused of doing the DELPHI murders, which was the murder of two young little girls in Delphi, Indiana, back in 2017. Now, recently, this story has been brought back up because obviously a year ago, Richard Allen was arrested years after the murders. Was it 7 years, 6 years after the murders, some shit like that. And basically in this case, Richard Allen has confessed 5 times while being locked up. And only in the last few months, 4 months I'd say, has there been this rumor, this accusation that Odinism played a part in these girls' murders. Today I want to talk about that because in the last time I did a video about the Delphi murders, I laid out the case. I presented that there's no way it could have been Odinism. There's no way it could have been white supremacists, whatever you want to say. And today I'm going to elaborate on it a little further because I see it's being brought up again. A lot of things are going on. Richard Allen wants the judge to recuse himself, herself, whatever it is, him or her, I don't fucking know. The lawyers are coming back. His initial lawyers are back on the case. The part-time lawyers, the replacement lawyers, they recently did an interview on, I believe it was Law and Crime, in which they discussed Richard Allen's guilt. Now, you guys know me. I'm an innocent until proven guilty type of guy. However, once you confess your guilt, you're guilty. And I know what you're going to say. It could have been a false confession. Could have been this and that. And it's because everybody in this community, it was basically retarded almost. But basically what it is that everybody always thinks there's a underbelly side, a side of the story that for some reason they're lying to you about. Now, trust me. I'm anti-government. I definitely know the government lies to you. I definitely know police lie. I definitely know that the courts lie. However, Richard Allen, out of his own mouth, no less than 5 times, to both his mother and his wife, confessed to these crimes. Let's get into this a little bit. For the guy you see right here on your screen, this is Richard Allen, but we're going to dive into the cult thing. In my last video, I told you guys that there's no way it was a cult. Clearly, after Richard Allen had been in prison for a long time, which, by the way, I told you I've been in Westville Correctional Facility, and at the end of the day, I know the layout, I know how things go there. When it comes to Richard Allen, basically a year into this, 8-9 months into his arrest, after he had already been to Westville. Now, don't get me wrong. I think they are doing Richard Allen wrong. There's no reason he should be in a penitentiary before he is convicted. But now he's coming up with this crazy story. His lawyers are as well, despite his confessions. And he is saying that a cult, which, by the way, we'll get into this here in just a second, the cult thing. He is claiming that the cult did it. And there's reasons why they believe this. There was people that was looked at in the beginning. The FBI, someone from the FBI said that they had reason to believe that there was ritualistic runes at the site. And we'll talk about that as well in this. But let's go ahead and start off by jumping right into the whole cult concept. Now, I want to make something clear to you. For all of you I just want to say this. For all of you Christians out there, or Muslims, or whatever your belief system is, you're all cults. It doesn't matter who you are. By definition, you're all cults. So this weird thing where you people call Jehovah's Witnesses a cult, or let's say Odinism a cult, but yet you're running around here saying, I'm a Baptist, I'm a Pentecostal, I'm a Catholic. If they're cults, you're cults. By definition, let's look at the definition of a cult. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. There's your definition of cult. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object, such as Muhammad, such as Allah, such as Jesus Christ, such as Odin, such as Thor. You understand? But because you guys don't like white people, you guys don't like white culture, all of a sudden, one of the oldest religions in the book, besides the Sumerians, you're labeling as a cult. The initial European Caucasus Mountains religion, you're labeling as a cult. The very same practice the Vikings, it predates Christianity by at least 3,000 years. Let me say this again. It predates Christianity by at least 3,000 years, but you have the nerve to call it a cult. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So there's other definitions. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarding by others as strange or sinister. A misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. There's 3 different versions of the definition. At least one fits whatever belief system you have, whether it's political, religion, no matter what, right? Let's get into this, because today we're going to talk about the Odinites. And like I said, I just wanted to say that first and foremost, because, well, notice how everything's a cult that isn't what you believe. And let me say that again. If you're a Baptist, you think Pentecostals are cults. If you're a Pentecostal, you think the Catholics are cults. It's all you thinking for some reason you know everything, and for some reason your beliefs are the right ones. That's all this is. That's all it's ever been. It's all it ever will be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, let me scoot this over. I'm working with a small space here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the Odinic rite, because these are the people that Richard Allen, the confessed murderer of the Delphi 2, wants you to believe. This is what he wants you to believe, or his attorneys want you to believe, is the group that did it. So let's talk about this group, my original Viking group of people. Let's see. The Odinic rite is a reconstructionist religious organization named after the god Odin. It conceives itself as folkish heathen movement. It's a paganistic movement, right? That's what it is. Concerned with Germanic paganism, mythology, folklore, and runes. As a white supremacist organization, the Odinic rite limits membership to white individuals. See, this is why y'all got a problem with it. You have no problem if someone says, this is for coloreds only, blacks only, whatever. But the fact of this is because it's in Norway, it is a European, it is a Viking, a Caucasus mountain region religion. You have a problem with it because America has taught you that multiculturalism is good. And we'll touch back on that here in just a second, because all this is going to tie back in with Richard Allen and this entire case. Let's go ahead and get to this. So what does the religion stand for? What does it mean? The Odinic rite refers to the form of heathenry as Odinism, a term favored among heathen white supremacists. In 1841, the term was used by the Scottish writer, historian, and philosopher Thomas Carlyle in his book Our Heroes, Hero Worship, and Hero... Listen, a lot of this It's just different versions of worshiping a god or gods. Listen, I believe that all religious beliefs is all fictional. That's the truth. I believe all of these are typically made up stories. Okay? Now, the reason this thing looks to have a modern history is because ultimately, all it was done is it was remixed, so to speak. It is a religion, it is a belief system that is as old as you can go back. However, it gained popularity again in around 1970. The Odinic Rite believes Odinism as a natural religion of the peoples of Northern Europe. It has been, and that's why everybody's got a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Let's just call it what it is. It has been characterized, but here's what's weird. If you're a Middle East religion, like let's say any of you Christians and Muslims, it's all good. If you're an African religion, it's all good. If you're an Asian religion, like Buddhist, it's all good. None of those are considered cults. But notice that the Northern European religion is considered the cult. But let's go ahead and continue. It has been characterized as a white supremacist organization and describes itself as a focus group, which it states centers on the stance that includes racial preservation and promotion. And that ultimately is the problem with all of you. Everybody could be pro-black. Everybody can be pro-Mexican. But if anyone is pro-white, no, bad. See what I'm saying? That's the way it works. They only allow white members and discourage mixed race relationships, stating that while this is not a stance taken by heathens prior to Christianization, that it's necessary now to maintain racial integrity and to prevent crossed allegiances. Right? And with you, when you look at the Great Replacement, when you look at everything that's going on right now, it makes sense. It makes sense. When I was born, America was 90% me. Right now, it's only 59% me. Clearly, multiculturalism is weeding out me, which is fine. That's fine. That's it. You guys can have this sack of shit. But anyway, let's get to this. Okay, what do they practice? Because they will try to tell you that Odinites practice sacrifice. First of all, let me explain this to you. In the past, they did practice sacrifice, but so did you Christians. So did all of you. So did all of you. Odinists in modern times do not practice elaborate rituals such as animal sacrifices that were common in Odin days. It would be neither legal nor necessary to do so. What is necessary is that we understand the theological principles that underlie ancient practice and apply those principles in forms better suited to contemporary conditions. So clearly right now, by their own terminology, and you can call them liars, but if you call them a liar, you have to call your religion a liar. Why would you believe that Odinites stopped human sacrifices, but you don't believe your Christianity does? You see the point? Because we're the good religion. We got all kinds of mixed races in here. Well, good for you, bitch. Good for you. But on our end, why would you see how hypocritical it is? You're like, only we stop human sacrifices, not you. Right? Okay. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. Let's go ahead and continue. Just a little bit. They did do human sacrifices in the prehistoric period, 1050 AD, the Viking Age. During all this, there was a lot of magic, death, rituals. And you could say that, like I said, about almost any religion. But there are exaggerated accounts. There are several horrifying accounts of human sacrifices from the Viking period. Shout out to my boys. Shout out to the Vikings, Valhalla. The German bishop, Theodemar in Merseburg, describes how the Vikings met every 9 years at Ligier in Zealand in January and offered to their gods 99 people. And just as many, by the way, the Mayan religion did it, Christianity did it, and we'll talk about all of that, right? Where the temple was devoted to Thor, Odin, and Frey. Here the Vikings also met every 9 years to ensure the goodwill of the gods. So there's a lot of nines involved. You understand what I'm saying? There was extensive debate over whether these accounts were real or simply Christian propaganda. Bingo. Bingo. And that gets to the gist of all this. Just like any group of people, majority of the negativity talked about with that group of people is by other opposing groups of people. Do you see what I'm saying? I talk negatively about groups of people I dislike because they're opposition that I dislike. Do you see? They're a threat to my way of life. Religion's no different. That's why Catholics badmouth Baptists and Baptists badmouth Pentecostals, and you get the drift, right? Everybody thinks they're right. That's why I'm agnostic. I don't know. But Norse rituals. Norse religious worship is the traditional religious rituals practiced by Norse pagans in Scandinavia in pre-Christian times. Norse religion was a folk religion as opposed to an organized religion, and its main purpose was the survival and regeneration of society. Therefore, the faith was decentralized and tied to the village and the family, although evidence exists of great national religious festivals. The leaders managed the faith on behalf of the society. On a local level, the leader would have been the head of the family, and nationwide, the leader was the king. Pre-Christian Scandinavians had no word for religion in the modern sense. It was referred to as Niceder. I don't know how to say that. The new custom. While paganism was called Ceder, ancient custom. The center of gravity of pre-Christian religion lay in religious practice, sacred acts, rituals, and worship of the gods. Which, look, man, that's what all religions do. Like I said, we know from written sources that the Odin cult demanded human and animal sacrifices. This is back in the old days, like I said, 1050 BC. Both animals and people may have hung at Ontroth. Odin was the god of the upper classes and was primarily worshipped by magnates and warriors. It is the warrior religion. And this is the fundamental difference between the Christian religion and the Odin religion, is you guys are pacifists. Turn the other cheek, you're pussies. Whereas Odinism is warriors. European, Caucasus Mountain warriors. You guys are like, but we love everybody. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. But in the end of all of this, I'm telling you the differences in the two. Because that is the perception you put off, while at the same time sacrificing and killing people just as much as you claim the Vikings and the Odinites and whoever did. Now let's go ahead and get to this. Just so you know this, there was sacrifices in the Bible. Paul phrased his new standard of worship, the one specifying human sacrifice, in these terms. I appeal to you, I'm saying this for a reason, because your entire theme from the Old Testament to the New Testament is sacrifice. In the Old Testament, there was sacrifice talk all the time, physical sacrifice. In the New Testament, you got to sacrifice your soul. But anyway, let's go. By the mercy of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice. You understand the terminology. You understand the meaning. All religions at some point believed in sacrifice. Now hold on, bear with me. Holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. That is what Romans changed it to. But let's look at some of the ancient biblical accounts, okay? Let's look at some sacrifices. References in the Bible point to awareness of and a disdain of human sacrifice in the history of ancient Near Eastern practice. During a battle with the Israelites, the king of Moab gave his firstborn son, and by the way, remember, God commanded, what was it, Abraham? God tested Abraham by asking him to present his son as a sacrifice to Moriah. That's right, the binding of Isaac. Abraham agrees to this command without arguing. The story ends with an angel stopping Abraham at the last minute and providing a ram caught in some nearby bushes to be sacrificed instead. So once again, sacrifices. Many Bible scholars have suggested the story's origin was a remembrance of an era when human sacrifice was abolished in favor of animal sacrifice. There has been plenty of discussion of sacrifice. People sacrificing their sons, offering up their sons, firstborn son sacrifice throughout the entire Bible. Okay? And it was Phoenicia, you can go down to Phoenicia, you can go all over the place. Egyptian religion. So my point behind this is that sacrifice has always existed. Now, we give credit to all religions for essentially stopping sacrifice. Christians no longer sacrifice animals. Christians no longer sacrifice humans. So why would you assume Odinites do? You can't find a single news story where they did. And now you believe they went to Delphi to do it? Now let's go straight to the horse's mouth. What is an Odinic rite? This is from OdinicRite.org. The Odinic Rite is an international organization dedicated to the advancement of Odinism, a modern-day expression of the ancient indigenous beliefs of our northern Indo-European ancestors. Drawing on ancestral wisdom from the dawn of our folk, the Odinic Rite is a unique denomination of Odinism. We do not consider the Viking Age to be the Golden Age. It's this group right here, which is the very group that many of you are discussing when you're discussing Indiana Odinism, okay? These people right here don't even represent true Odinism. They don't look at the Viking Age as anything worth anything. But a part of our rich tapestry which contributes to our history and wisdom. Which, everybody has the ability to have whatever belief system they want. Now, I'm just giving you some background here. And if you don't know what Indo-European is, let me show you. Relating to the family of languages spoken over the greater part of Europe and Asia. If you look at the Caucasus Mountains, you look at Russia, the old Soviet Union. And if you know that, Russia is both in Europe and in Asia. You see what I'm saying? So hopefully that will make sense. Give me 1 second. So I had to handle something real quick. But back to this video. All right. So relating to so basically, if you understand Europe, you understand Eurasia type situation. If you understand all that, you understand the general geography, the general region. Now let's get to Richard Allen. Because I'm eventually going to get to my final theory here. And I know this is long-winded, but since I no longer plan on doing Delphi videos until something important comes up, I want this to be it for Delphi, all right? Court documents describe Delphi murders as ritualistic sacrifice. By the way, that's not court documents by the prosecution, by the state. That is just simply shit that the defense has claimed. In any other case, if the defense came out with some wild theory, right? If Brian Kohlberger's defense came out and said, "Look, man, after all this time, if Ann Taylor came out and said, "Man, it was the Muslims, they came in and did it," you'd be like, "Hold on, why? Wouldn't that seem really strange to you? Wouldn't you be sitting there saying to yourself, why haven't we heard all this before? How come this is just coming out now? What the fuck is going on?" But anyways, let's go ahead and get to this just a second. For you guys that do not know, there was a 136-page brief filed by Richard Allen's defense attorney, and it claims that Abby Williams and Libby German was murdered as part of an Odinism cult sacrifice. Now I'm going to stop that right there. Listen, to all you liberal sacks of shit, to all you multiculturalism loving, you know what I'm saying, multiculturalism lovers, that type of thing. Let me ask you a question. I thought white supremacists were bad because they were going to hurt you. You never said you were scared that white supremacists were going to hurt other white people. So my question is why would white supremacists sacrifice or hurt two little white girls? Just curious. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but we'll get to that because I'm going to give you my theory in the end, because I do think the Odinites are involved. And I'm about to explain how, if they're involved. Okay, let me rephrase that. I don't think they are involved, but if they're involved, I'm going to tell you exactly why here in just a second. Okay? But anyway, let's get to the story. Let's get back down to this. The filing says that Odinism symbols left behind at a February 2017 crime scene, including blood used to paint an apparent rune similar to the letter F on a nearby tree. A calling card of a pagan religious cult. Do you know how much blood it would take to paint that on a tree? But whatever. It says sticks and tree branches were deliberately, carefully, and proficiently placed on each girl. Once again, if I murdered people in the woods, I would also try to cover them up with sticks. And I'm not trying to make a rune. Mimicking certain runes. At least one of the branches appeared to have its end cut off cleanly by some sort of tool like an electric saw, providing proof of a preconceived plan. But there's a professor that does this exact thing that said, nah, this is not any cult or any pagan cult. Definitely not no Odinites. It's alleged that the Carroll County sheriffs and prosecutors dismissed the potential cult ties to the case. There you go. They dismissed the ties because apparently that wasn't enough. Now, let me ask you something. When you're talking about a little town, Delphi, Indiana, who waited all them years, what was it, 7 years to find a suspect? You don't think of that if they had information that could go get somebody for real, they wouldn't have went and got it? The Odinites aren't the goddamn Jews. They don't have that much power. To believe that the Odinites somehow silenced everybody for years and years and are still doing it, you're a joke. You're a clown. Most of you motherfuckers have never even heard of Odin or the Odinites, Odinism, until this case. Richard Allen has nothing to do with this crime, they say, but rather an innocent man, a patsy for the police, arrested 26 days before an election. No, they think it has something to do with the election in the small town of Indiana. However, it is apparent that the prosecutor only offered up the letter after it was obvious that the defense team would soon be learning of its existence. So the prosecutor offered up the letter. So the claim that the prosecution didn't offer up the letter is not true because the motherfucker offered up the letter. Now, there is a gag order on the case. That's why a lot of this information we do not know. But for some reason, we know all this. Granted, court filing, we get it now. But let me explain something to you. I just watched an interview with the replacement lawyers for Richard Allen. And they was talking their fucking ass off. There was a gag order on this case. But the lawyers in this case, two of them, was just talking their ass off to the media. And you don't think nothing about that? Now, I can go over so many things with this, but let's do this. Let's get to my theory. This has been long-winded enough. Could the Odinites be involved? Maybe. Sure. But here's what I think if they are involved. And the reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of people say, well, there was 2 prison guards at Westville that could have been Odinites. Are there white supremacists in the prison system? Yeah, of course there are. Here's my theory. Richard Allen and maybe that fat chomo, or maybe the bridge guy who I still don't think was Richard Allen. I think it was the old man that died, who lied about his whereabouts that day. I think chances are one of these guys, and since Richard Allen confessed to the crime, I'm going to go with Richard Allen. I think he killed those people. I think he went into jail, confessed to his family, and that recording and that knowledge got passed around. Maybe an Odinite guard heard that shit. And that Odinite guard then decided to give Richard Allen the hell. So you got to understand, Odinism is currently basically just a prison gang, like the Aryan Brotherhood. Do you see what I'm saying? It's basically just a prison gang. at this point. The membership of Odinism has declined dramatically over the years. It's basically just a prison gang. So here's how I see this happening. Richard Allen really did do it. And I know that if I found out that two beautiful white little girls were murdered and you come in my prison, I would have gave it to you too. Maybe the guards, maybe the inmates, maybe everybody, probably the guards since he's not around anybody. Maybe the guards were Odinites, and maybe they did treat him like hell. Because he's a murderer of two little white girls. In this case, I believe the Odinites are the heroes, not the bad guys. So if they're involved at all, they were not involved until Richard Allen got to Westville Correctional Facility. That is where he had to pay the price. And he's not now. He's in Wabash now. Probably in the shoe. Yeah, I know about Wabash too. Ultimately, Richard Allen got to prison. And what happened to Richard Allen is exactly what happens to all chomos and child killers and shit like that. They got handled by the prison. If inmates couldn't touch him, maybe they were spitting in his food, whatever. But the guards, you need to understand, guards are private citizens. What I mean is, prisons are a private company. Prison guards only make like $10 an hour, maybe $12, $15 an hour. Now, they don't make shit. So basically what we have here is we got Richard Allen coming in with the reputation that he just maybe raped and killed two little white girls. Nobody is going to survive that in an Indiana prison. You go into any Indiana prison, period. I don't care if it's Westville. I don't care if it's Michigan City. I don't care if it's the Farm. I don't care if it's Plainfield. I don't care if it's Pendleton. I don't care if it's Wabash. You go into that environment, and those people think you raped and murdered little girls, and yeah, they're going to come at you. And it being two little white girls, you goddamn right white supremacists are going to come at you. So let me ask you the question here. Who's the killer? Who's the bad guy here? Richard Allen? Or maybe them Odinite guards that wanted to make Richard Allen pay? Let's not forget who the bad guy is here. The guy that killed two little girls and admitted it. Richard Allen is the bad guy. And that's all I have to say. He is innocent until proven guilty, but my current opinion, based on his own confession, is that he is guilty. And maybe the Odinites, maybe they did force him to confess to it. Maybe that was part of their way of punishing him. Motherfucker, you better confess to it. You better admit it. You better tell people what you did. You ain't getting away with this one, Richard. And if they did that even, I'm still going to say cool. Richard Allen go fuck himself. Period. Odinites did not kill them little girls. And I'll take that with me to the end. Odinites aren't sacrificing little European girls. But they will kill you if you do. That's the truth. If you like, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you like my content, and feel free to join the gun squad today. Show the channel some love. I'll see you in the next video, man. We're gonna be talking about Brian Kohlberger and his damn he went for his change of venue. Same day by the way, this information broke after I made my video yesterday. Kohlberger's listening. Just fucking with y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow.